Welcome to ATN Society Watch. This is a program where we ventilate society issues, give them aggregate attention with a view to profiling solutions that will benefit humanity. On today's episode, looking at Rivers State, baby and grandmother detained over unpaid bill, and child assault, father arrested for defying daughters. On baby factory, police rescue 5 pregnant teenagers. And strike action, NADS to begin nationwide industrial action. And don't forget, we are open for sponsorship of this program. Jingles and advertisements, news and events coverage, personality, society and political interviews, products, service promotion and commercials. Watch us live on www.atlanticnetwork.tv and also on Avo TV channel 205. Online Mex TV platform, iFastech platform, Apple TV, Niger TV, Iroko TV. Connect with us on ATN socials, subscribe, like and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, and on X at Atlantic TV Net. We're going on a quick break, and when we return, I will introduce my guest for the show this morning, and we'll dive right into our stories. So stay tuned. Welcome back and thank you for joining us. I have with me today Mr. Kolawale Adedire, a public affairs analyst, and together we'll be analyzing our stories for today. Mr. Kolawale, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Young mother's death after childbirth has led to a human tragedy at a private hospital in Port Harcourt. Her premature baby and grieving grandmother have been confined within the hospital for over a year over unpaid medical bills. The woman, identified as Mrs. Chiamaka, died shortly after giving birth at 7 months pregnant. Her baby survived after months in an incubator, but the family was handed a 6 million naira medical bill. They managed to pay 1.4 million naira, leaving a 4.6 million naira balance. Hospital management reportedly refused to release the baby and grandmother until the full amount was settled. The family without stable income has since appealed for mercy and support from the public. Human rights advocates described the hospital's action as inhumane, urging authorities to intervene. A humanitarian group coordinating support said the case highlights growing concerns about patients' rights and unethical hospital detentions in Nigeria. Public calls are mounting for government involvement to ensure the baby's release and to review medical billing practices that penalize the poor. Mr. Kolawale, this is a story of a mother who is unable to feed the the hospital bills of a child, and then the child was confined. I would love to get your thoughts on this story.
I mean, this is just another example of the inhumane things we see going on in our society nowadays. You know, I mean, these are people that are meant to save lives. I mean, the hospital, the doctors, the nurses, they're supposed to save lives. They are expected to have sympathy, empathy, in all cases, if I may say so myself. So, s- hearing of such a news just broke my heart, in the sense that where is all of the empathy? Where is all of the fear of God? I know it's a business, right? But
Mm.
let's not forget, you know, the mother of the baby already died, due to the operation, and I feel like that's enough for the hospital to even say, okay, you guys can pay in installments. And from the report, it said that they paid parts, but the hospital wanted them to pay off all of the money, and that's how they kept the baby and the grandmother there for nearly over a year, and that's almost unbelievable. That's a whole 365 days. I mean, the kid, the young baby probably didn't even get the chance to be named, probably
Mm.
has been has known only that space. I mean, it's almost traumatic to think about if you ask me. And that's why we need to ensure that we have good systems in our country. It's not just to have hospitals, infrastructures, or things mounted up in a place. There are supposed to be policies. There are supposed to be, rules and regulations, guiding these systems.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense to me why or even how this can happen. And for such a thing to happen, like I always come on the show, when we see things like this, it means it's happening everywhere. I mean, this is just probably coming to the limelight for the hospital, for this report to be coming out right now. It means this has been going on in that hospital and it's probably been going on somewhere else. So, I mean, it's such a sad and scary thing. And in a way, in as much as it's a sad story, I'm glad it's out in the light and we can all, push against it, and maybe our systems, our government bodies will be able to look into these things to ensure that things like this do not happen.
Okay, Mr. Kolawale, don't you also think that these may be, from the point of view of the hospital, probably they must have done some of these, taking some of these chances of treating patients, and then at the end of the day, the patients blow a wall or abscond without footing the bill. So, don't you think it's a case of once bitten, twice shy on their part? Because every businessman, I know it's more on the health, but every businessman wants to make profit. And then if they go about making, probably they must have done one or two cases of giving this instance, and then at the end of the day, they lost out. So don't you think on their own part they're trying to safeguard their business?
I mean, definitely. That's why earlier I said I understand it's a business, but you won't compare. First, I would say you won't compare medical organizations, or let me say business, with a car sales business, right? And why I'm putting those two side by side is because when you're operating any form of business, be it medical, be it car sales, be it logistics or cosmetics and whatnot, you should have some rules, you should have some policies. And in this case where it's health inclined, right, it's much more delicate matter. So in as much as I'm very sure that they might have tried to make this work before now, like people should come back and pay, and some have scored with the money and all of that. I understand that that could have happened, but that should have brought up. It should have been more like something that doctors and the healthcare infrastructure body should have come out to say, okay, we're having these issues. Let us see how we can, speak out. Let us see how we can ensure that we save lives and at the same time we do not run out of business. Because if you ask me, keeping them there is not for free. I
Okay.
hope you know that.
Yeah.
Because the money will just keep piling up. So if they were owing 1 million, I mean, I'm sure they were not sleeping on the outside of the hospital, right? They'll probably be in a room, which is of course paid for. They'll probably be fed, which is of course paid for. So the money is still increasing. So for a family that could not afford, maybe I can't remember the particular amount, but for a family that could not afford that amount, what makes you think they can afford it even now that it has, appreciated in value? So you can see that there's really no, I don't know how best to put it, but there's really no possible justification to say this would have fixed anything, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Rather, I mean, I understand that the system itself, that's why earlier I mentioned the system we operate. It's not just about having infrastructures or having healthcare centers. I mean, in more developed societies, I think the state, which is like the country, kinds of put aside funds for things like this, right?
Okay.
So I think I heard of a story once or twice, more than twice, of people. I think it was in the US. The woman was pregnant and she went to the hospital with literally nobody, to help her.
Mm.
And I mean, nurses, doctors took her in, delivered the baby, you know, took care of her for the next like 3 6 months, feeding her, feeding the baby. And there was literally no issue of she could leave anytime she wanted. Of course, there's proper documentation. And I mean, that is a system that works. Cover the most is usually linked with their financial data. For example, if you're a civil servant, it could be deducted from your pay, and with time it will be covered. So I think that those are things that we should look at how we it's a different very different from the US as it stands currently. But we need to sit down, we need to set a round table. In as much as this is very wrong on the side of the hospital, I understand that just like you said, it's possible they have been on the bad end,
Yeah.
trying to help people, and that is why they did this. So, but it's not still a good. They still didn't make a good decision, if
Oh,
you ask me.
okay, Mr. Kolawale, there are national health insurance schemes available. Do you think most citizens of this country are aware of these health insurance scheme, or it is an exclusive right reserved for probably civil servants or those who are considered elites of society?
I mean, I feel like it's for, I mean, NHIS, right? It's
Yeah.
for people that are literally working, right? I'm not very sure if you can have access to that scheme if you don't have something doing, right?
Okay.
So you and I both know there are classes of, people fingers are not equal. It's possible that this family was not on that end of, salary earners or salary earners to be able to get themselves signed up on the scheme. And
Mm.
it's possible that, I mean, it will shock you to know that some people do not even know that such schemes exist, right?
Okay.
And it's both ways. It could be that we could be that the family didn't know about that. It could be that they are not, you know, well to do to that extent to be able to be on the scheme. And even schemes like NHIS sometimes do not cover all the bills, So that's another discussion for another day, right? So at the end of the day, I don't think NHIS scheme alone can fix issues like this. I feel like
Okay.
we should have much more inclusive policies that can help. I
Mm.
mean, at the end of the day, someone was talking to me about this just this morning, and it was like, at the same time, I mean, it was like kind of understand where the hospital and this whole mix was coming from,
Yeah.
but a whole year is quite long because it was like if they are turned down the pregnant woman, like, oh, can you we want to take this woman for the operation, can you guys afford it? And they said no, and they said, oh, we can't take you in. That's also a bad thing.
Okay.
I don't know if you get, because
Yeah.
she could have died along the way and all of that. So in as much as they started off well, at the end of the day, it's just sad that things didn't add up. So it's not a good thing. It's not applaudable at all to think that after a year they'll be able to pay and keeping them detained and all of that. I feel like even they could have, gotten a loan card. Okay, let them fill up a loan card, let them sign some sort of statements, get their details, stuff like that, and follow up until they can pay up to some extent or even pay up everything. That would have made a little bit more sense.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kolawale, for your opinion on that story. We move on to the next story of discussion. Enugu State government has confirmed the arrest of a 35-year-old man, Mr. Ozioma Okonkwo, for allegedly defiling his two biological daughters, aged 2 and 5. The suspect, a native of Imo State residing in Enugu, was apprehended following a distress report from a concerned citizen. Authorities said the arrest was made on Saturday night after a coordinated police operation. The suspect is currently in custody and will be charged to court after investigations are concluded. The two victims have been taken to a government-approved shelter where they are receiving medical treatment and psychosocial care. Their mother, reportedly traumatized by the event, is also undergoing therapy under the supervision of the ministry's counseling team. The Enugu State government commended the police for their swift intervention and reiterated its zero-tolerance stance on sexual and gender-based violence. Officials pledged that offenders will face the full weight of the law. The Commissioner for Children, Gender Affairs and Social Development condemned the act as a heart-wrenching and unacceptable crime against innocence, assuring residents that justice will be served. We've had, Mr. Kolawale, we've had cases of child assaults. This seems like another one popping up here. What's your opinion on this story?
I mean, I cannot begin to count, or at least the number of child assault cases I've discussed on the show. That is to show you how prominent this issues has become, especially this sort of assault again, incest, if I may use that word, because
No.
fathers that are supposed to protect their families, their household, their daughters, are now assaulting them sexually, and I fail to understand or comprehend how such a thing can be done. Well, I mean, I'm glad he has been arrested, and I hope the new bill that has been passed takes effect. I mean, some weeks ago, it was pushed that sexual assault against minors would be much more it would be much more handled
Yeah.
in a stringent manner. So I hope this is handled in that light, because I mean, like I said, you are supposed to protect your household, but now fathers are now being having affairs with their daughters. You, I don't know. The question I keep asking myself is where have we gotten it wrong as a society? Because the world is moving towards better things, AI, tech, advancement, and we are here still battling things like, fathers sexually assaulting their children. We need to do a lot more better as a society, and that begins with the legal system, which is why I said I'm glad that the bill has been passed, and hopefully with time, as soon as possible, the rate of of such crimes will reduce. I mean, some months ago in Madagascar, it was said that castration was the sentence. Of course, when proven beyond reasonable doubt. When I came on the show and I said I literally supported that, it sounded harsh, but when you want to handle situations like this, I feel like you need to handle it with a strong hand, right?
Okay.
Because when people feel they can get away with some things, they would fail to call themselves to order. I mean, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, I don't understand how how someone, how a man, a grown-up man would be excited by that. So I feel like there's a moral degradation in our society, and the legal system should be the first point, should be the first point of contact for people, for perpetrators like this.
Mr. Kolawale, I read a story recently on X where a young lady was saying that she boarded the bus and the woman came in with her with a 5 or 6 year old boy, or probably 5, 5, 6, yes, 5 years boy, 5 year, and then he at first he touched her on her breast. She thought it was a joke, so she allowed it slide. He did it the second time, and she told the mom that this is what your son did, and the mom replied, "Na pikin now." You know, say men like that thing, and then he did it the third time. She spanked the child, and then the mom reacted, and she also faced the mom. So, like you said, moral decadence, and where I'm heading to is there's been an argument that there are fathers. There's a difference between a father and a man. Do you think we've moved beyond checking the psychological state of most men before they go into procreation, or every man can be a father?
I mean, very, very interesting question. And I've said it on the show many times that not all men, not all women, uh, like, how do I, okay, not all women should be parents, not all men should be parents.
Okay.
And I mean, that literally answers your question because people out there are not everybody is even mentally stable, if I may say that. Because, like I said, how do you picture a 2 year old and a 5 year old and you're excited by that, right? You're sexually excited by that. It makes no sense to me. So, also, when we talk about the moral degradation in our society,
Yeah.
it's just like the example you cited. We should always all point at something that is bad and say it's bad, right? Until we can begin to do that, our society will keep having this off and on. I mean, just like you cited an example earlier, I heard of a story of a woman. She sells on the street, on the roadside, like a trader, and on the other side of the street there is a church, and this girl goes to the church. She was probably 8, 9, thereabout. And I think along the line, she was assaulted, and the child told her mom. The mom did nothing, right? Along the line, people found out, legal personnel were now trying to pick up the case and all of that to ensure that the perpetrator is caught and justice is, invoked.
Yeah.
But the woman, which is the mother, was like, she don't want wahala, she
So
does not have
yeah.
money to chase all these things and all of that. These are the things we are saying. Now, that kid is probably going to be traumatized for the rest of her life. I mean, I psyche is already being tampered with, given that she's been assaulted at that age, and given that her parents, which is her mom, I don't know if her father was in the picture, but her mom at that point, the story is just basically the mother responding to it. Her mom at that point could not even fight or help her fight the battle. So how do you expect such a child to grow up in a society? And at the end of the day, these things respawn and it affects the society negatively. Like, for example, such a kid, when she grows up, she tends to see the idea of men differently,
Yeah.
right? She
Yeah.
tends to see the idea of sexual relations differently. She tends to see the idea of even relationships and marriages. She could end up being, in quotes, I mean, sadly, she could end up being on the immoral side of things, right? Because right now nobody's even trying to push cases for her anymore because the mom was like, she does not want any issues. Let them leave her child for her and all of
Yeah.
that. So we need to be, I mean, in much more developing societies, these things are battles that the system will even fight automatically. You don't need anybody to pay any bills for you, right? In a developed society, such a case would have been taken up by the state, and which is the country, right? And the
Okay.
perpetrator will be held accountable. But here, you find out that this thing just passed like breeze. I mean, there was a time, and I won't mention the police station and all of that. Someone went to report that a young boy was touching a kid, which is a girl,
Okay.
and she went to report, and right there, I was I happened to be around. Right there, the policemen were jokingly saying, this one don't be woman now. And this
Ah,
is a young girl for crying out loud. So these are the things we shouldn't even allow such. Imagine the police, which is supposed to be like protectors, of in the society, making such statements. It means it's not taken seriously, if you ask me. So we need to ensure that these things are much more fixed. Let our laws be fixed on the concept of rape, the concept of child assault, especially with minors. Let our military, paramilitary, our policemen be educated on the gravity of such situations. Some will even go as far as saying, no, let's settle this thing, out of court. Let's not take it too much. And someone has been assaulted sexually. So we live in a society where it's not taken seriously. But hopefully, with this new bill that has been passed, we'll begin to see a bit more positive difference. Hopefully.
all right. Thank you, Mr. Kolawale, for your opinion on that story. One more story before we go on a break. Ondo State Police Commanders uncovered a baby factory operating in Ore, Odigbo local government area, and arrested a woman identified as Ada Clement for alleged child trafficking and exploitation. Police said the facility was discovered after a 17-year-old victim, Vivian Peter, escaped and reported that she had been trafficked from Akwa Ibom under the pretext of a job offer. She revealed that several other pregnant girls were being held in the illegal clinic. Acting on a report, operatives raided the premises, rescuing 5 pregnant girls and a newborn baby boy. Investigations showed that babies were being sold for 400,000 naira and above for female children and 600,000 naira and above for male children. Police confirmed that one of the victims had already delivered and was receiving treatment at the General Hospital, Ore. The remaining victims are now under protective custody and receiving care. The State Commissioner of Police, Adebowale Lawal, has ordered a full investigation to track and prosecute all members of the trafficking syndicate. Detectives are currently trailing other fleeing suspects linked to the operation. Authorities reaffirmed their commitment to combating human trafficking and child exploitation, urging citizens to report suspicious activities to security agencies. Mr. Kolawale, we from this story we learned that one had to escape before this was exposed. And towards the latter end of the story, there's an encouragement from the authorities that these cases should be reported. Is it a situation of these cases being reported and nothing is being done, or the fear of let me just get your opinion on the story before we dive into the question.
I mean, the issue of baby factory has been a thing in this part of the world for a while now. We have seen we have for and locations that are housing such acts, right? because these things go on in buildings, right? So
Mm.
how do we checkmate these things? There's literally no system that checkmates these things in our society. The only thing we have going, or the only thing we could say can help, is maybe people, probably reporting these cases. And then again, when you come to people, a typical Nigerian is trying to just feed himself.
Mm.
The economy is already hard. I mean, if someone looks fishy to you, it just look like, let me just focus on my own self and do my stuff.
Okay.
And this thing will just keep going on for years. So I feel like we as in as much as we always point fingers at the government, we always talk about these things. Let us also try to play some parts. When we find out that places that are looking sketchy, let us try to report them. There are cases of locations that exist for decades that have been used for human trafficking, baby factory, ritual killings, and all of that. And some of them are even like where people are living, and nobody, no, you can't tell me nobody sensed anything for years.
Mm.
But it's just because people are not paying attention. People are focused on just themselves. So I'm just speaking to people out there. Try to, when you notice something is fishy,
Mm.
just report such a thing. It's not a crime, even if it turns out that it's not fishy. At least that will be ticked off the list, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only way we can, at least for now, that's the only way we can reduce such things. So I'm glad the teenagers have been rescued. But like I said in the previous report, and I mentioned, what happens next? Back, are they going to just be mothers, teenage mothers moving forward? Are they going to get some sort of um, 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 rehabilitation,
Yeah.
mental rehabilitation, and all of that? These are the big questions. But from history and the way things happens in this country, these people will just be left back into the society as if nothing ever happened.
Well,
So when does the change start, right?
okay.
When does the change start?
One of the sorry one sorry to cut this short. One of the girls that escaped, the girl that escaped, that made it clear, said they were being lured with job opportunities. Now, a question keep ringing in my head: how come you are getting pregnant and you don't have anything you're doing?
Mm. I mean, of course, there has to be a system these people used to get their victims. I mean, just like your question is very valid, but then again, let's not forget the report says they are teenagers. So what are teenagers trying to do looking for jobs in the first case? Well, I get that. I mean, there's hardship in the town. There are some cases where teenagers have to literally strive for themselves and whatnot.
Okay.
That's why, the crime, insecurity
Mm.
thrives when there is no progress in a society.
Okay.
That is just, this is just a plain realistic example. Because now, what these kids were trying to do, if I'm speaking plainly, all right, is
Mm.
that they are trying to simply look for jobs to cater for themselves or maybe their families. And in that case, they were being kidnapped, trafficked, and turned, and they are now victims of being in a baby factory. So it's such a sad thing, and I feel, speak broadly too, I feel like parents of these girls should also be brought in for questioning, because I mean, I don't know the investigation that was done. Hopefully, it was due to parents that reported their kids missing. But they
Okay.
should also be brought in for questioning to understand the dynamics of things like this. Most times, when things like this happen, the best thing is to understand the what's it called again, the cause points,
Mm.
so that we prevent things like this from happening, right? When parents come and report cases and there and investigation is done, we find out that there is a pattern to which these things happen. Like the lady has said, she was probably looking for a job. She was looking for a job rather,
Okay.
and she was lured and trafficked into this. So this would open the eyes of other citizens in the state.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kolawale, for your opinion on that story. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll continue with the rest of our stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. On to the rest of our stories. National Association of Resident Doctors (NAD) has announced plans to embark on an indefinite nationwide strike from November 1, following the expiration of a 30-day ultimatum to the federal government. The decision was reached after a 5-hour emergency meeting of the association's National Executive Council held on Saturday. NAD says the action follows the government's failure to meet its long-standing demands. Among these are a 20% increase in the consolidated medical salary structure, implementation of new allowances approved in July 2022, and the immediate recruitment of clinical staff to replace doctors who have left the service. NAD President Dr. Muhammad Suleiman said the association had set up strike monitoring committees nationwide to ensure full compliance and enforcement of the directive. He accused some actors of plotting to exploit the health workforce, warning that the union would collectively resist any form of intimidation or manipulation during the strike. The association has directed all resident doctors to hand over patients and sensitize the public ahead of the industrial action, which is expected to affect healthcare services across major hospitals in the country. Dr. Wale, I beg your pardon, this is an unfortunate situation considering the fact that health is a very important sector in life. So let me get your opinion on this story. This is not the first time we've had NAD given this ultimatum. So what do you think? Let me get your opinion on this.
Generally, when it comes to things, like this, strike action for the government not implementing the agreements they agreed upon, this is the reaction we get. Now, the reason why I'm starting from strike action is because I think the ASU just ended the strike as well.
Yeah.
Some days ago. And on this show, I said it many times. You see, the important thing that our government is not supposed to compromise or joke with is what they spend time playing games with, which is one, education, secondly, healthcare, and I would add security to that list. But now, since we are talking about healthcare, I mean, look at the first story we looked at. You know, if our doctors are not treated properly, are not taken care of well,
Yeah.
how do you expect them to give world class services to the citizens, right? And this is what these doctors, this is what in some cases lecturers will come up to say. We have been asking for this thing for years. You know, ASU is almost for over decades. Now, now is saying they have been asking for this thing since 2022, right? That's 3 years after, and there has been no positive, there's no positive improvement
Feedback,
as
yeah.
to the agreements they have laid down before the government. So then it begs the question: what's now the whole point of having a government or having a leadership or a system, rather than the only thing we hear about is they want to get some new cars for the senators or for the House of Rep members, or they want to get some new equipment, some new fans, some new this and that. Some months ago, I think in Lagos State, I reside in Lagos, people were, clamoring and arguing as far there was, I can't remember that list that was released to the public, but it contained things like, the Lagos State government is saying they bought cars, they bought chicken, they bought this and that, and nobody is saying the government officials should not take care of themselves.
Okay.
But what happens to the important sectors in the country? Why can't they even try to, the same way the citizens are sacrificing? I remember the president some years ago, I think a year ago, said we should endure with him and there will be light at the end of the tunnel. We have been enduring since then right up to now. And the leadership did not endure with us. When it was time to get new SUVs, they got it. When it was time to build mini solar systems around their offices and around their residents, they got these things. So it's not fair if you ask me to. We the citizens are not even enjoying the benefits of being citizens of of a country as blessed as Nigeria.
Okay.
We have so much to offer. The manpower, that is the youth, uh, but our system is not helping us. There are no infrastructures for us to use these skill sets that we have. Even now, look at all the. I know there was a time jackpot syndrome was, I mean, Nigerians were jackpotting a lot, but now everybody is putting stringent policies on that. So
Yeah.
we are all stuck here, one way or the other, right? And there is no improvement. So when does the improvement start? That's why the NAD has come to say they are going on strike, and I hope the government listens to them now. And like I've said on the show before, when strikes happen in this country, NLC, ASU, NAD, I feel like it's a waste of time if you know that you will settle for less at
Okay.
the end of the day. And that is why this thing keeps going on for years, right? Maybe they'll come up out of the 100% they're asking for, the
Mm.
200% increase. The government will say, "Oh, we'll give you people 30%." Why settle for 30%? That's not even half of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it's better to. It's not a fun thing. I understand, because many things will be affected, but it makes more sense if a long-lasting positive change is made,
It's made.
rather
Oh,
than little. I mean, look at ASU now; they are called off again,
all right. All right.
right? Before 6 months, there will be a new strike. So I feel like if they are pushing for stuff, NLC, NAD, all these bodies push for it, and I also want to speak to the government to also, try to listen to them, even
All
if
right.
you can't meet all of it, at least meet 50% of it. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Kolawale, sorry, we are out of time. Thank you for your opinion on that story, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Atlantic Society Watch. We are hoping for sponsorship of this program, jingles and advert placements, news and events coverage.